Shabbat Shalom Yesharala. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to those that Akim that preach the word in all truth and sincerity. Alone to Israelite foreigner brothers that like the heathens. But the line of outside goes back to the nation of Israel, which nation of Israel are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans through the prophecies and curses of Deuteronomy 28 chapter and throughout the Bible. So this is Brother Yakal. I'm back to the video, and today's video will be entitled Envy Not the Glory of a Sinner. I was going to go on some precepts and Lord willing, you brothers and you sisters out there be edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, and before I go into the lesson, I just defined the word envy, which means a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. It says some of the synonyms is jealousy, enviousness, covetousness, desire, resentment, bitterness. So this is not the spirit we're supposed to have, on sinners that's prosperous here in the society. Beginning on with Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Going down to these celebrities. Because at the end of the day, the Lord is going to bring all them wicked individuals into judgment. And when you go to Sirach 9, the Apocrypha, chapter 9, verse 11, it says, envy not the glory of a sinner. Because the sinners right now, they're glorified, man. They have all the influence. Everybody look up to them. You know, they just they have been blessed by Satan in this world. You know, it says, "For thou knowest not what shall be his end." Which we know. The sinners, the wicked latter end is destruction. But it's talking about like knowing like what type of judgment he's gonna get. Whether he's gonna get shot by somebody or he's gonna get a heart attack or because the Lord has various ways he can take people out. So we don't know in the sense of how he's going to die, but we know they will die. Very soon. You know, we just don't know what type of death they're gonna die. That's what the scripture is talking about. But we know the latter end is destruction. The sinner's latter end is destruction. You know, so it said, delight not in the things that the ungodly have pleasure in, but remember they shall not go unpunished unto their grave, and that's correct. So we're not supposed to delight in the thing that the ungodly have pleasure in, man. They love this world. This world is ruled by Satan, and they have pleasure in this world, man. To sin, commit adultery, you know, worship all these false gods. We're not supposed to have no pleasure in that and delight in that, you know. So, because it's the scripture also, it talks about, I meant to grab this earlier, that, we shouldn't be envious of nobody. Because, when you go amongst these heathens, man, in their neighborhoods, and, that spirit of envy can kick in, because they're prosperous, man. They don't suffer nothing. Everything is mapped out for them already. Everything is given unto them. And all that is set up by design, man. The society. It's not because they're greater than us. It's because everything is designed for these heathens to be prosperous. But this is Exodus 20. The scriptures command us not to be envious or covet other people's goods. And when you go to Exodus 20 and verse 17, it says, "Thou shalt not covet." Which covet means the lust for desire. Greedy for gain. Being very envious of someone else's goods. Covet is from the Hebrew word chamad, which means to desire, take pleasure in. You know, so we're not supposed to desire someone else's goods because at the end of the day, that's the Lord blessed them with their portion. And it's gonna say some of the goods. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. So neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Because that's adultery. That's two sins. Coveting after your neighbor's wife, you desiring her, and that's adultery. If you do um, adultery in the mind, because sin starts off in the mind, then it gets played out in your actions. It said, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant." So his slaves, nor his ox, nor his ass, which are his possessions, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And that's right. So this is the law we're supposed to all live by. We're not supposed to covet after none of our neighbor's goods, our fellow Israelite brothers' goods, or these heathens. You know, because at the end of the day, we have to be content and blessed with the Lord have given to us individually. But when you go to Psalms 37 and verse 1, a Psalm of David, it says, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers." And fret is when you go into that word, it's from the Hebrew word chara, chara, which means to be hot, furious, burn, become angry. So we're not supposed to be angry at evildoers because at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, this kingdom is ruled by Satan. The so-called white man. He's a physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan on earth. And Satan just means adversary. So that's why Jake, these celebrities, they they get turned out once they get in the industry, and they become so blessed, receiving all this money and all these getting all these mansions and cars and jewelry, all the women. It's because they worship the demonic gods, man, which are false gods. You know, so we're not supposed to be angry at evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb, meaning the Lord gonna destroy them. You know, but this is what we're supposed to do. Verse 3: trust in the Lord Yahweh and do good. So, we got to trust in the Lord, man. Because at the end of the day, the Lord's gonna give us all our heart's desires, and all these evildoers in the society, beginning with Esau, Edom, they have a corruptible crown. You know, all these temporal so-called riches they got, you know, they're gonna lose everything in the latter end. You know, and us in the kingdom, Lord willing, we part of the elect. The Lord's gonna give us all our heart desires, man. Everything that we want, the Lord's gonna give it to us in the kingdom. But it's not meant for us right now to shine right now because we're in captivity. This place is not our kingdom. It's not our rest. So we're not meant to be prosperous here. Because we're um, subject to the curses. It says, "Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed." Dwell in our land, Jerusalem, and we're gonna be fed, man. The Lord gonna take care of us. You know, so delight thyself also in the Lord, and He shall give thee the desires of thy heart. I didn't even know that precept was right there, man. That's the spirit. So yeah, so we gotta delight. It's from the Hebrew word ainag, which means to be soft, be delicate, be dainty, to be pampered, to be happy about. So yeah, we're supposed to be happy in serving the Lord, man, because we got the greatest knowledge on the planet, man. We know our true power name, the heading, which is true name of the heading Father is Yahweh, and His only God's Son Yahweh Shai. We're supposed to be happy about that, man. And also, having the correct leaders, our apostles, elders, a great millstone, and having the correct doctrine, you know, because we know more than the average person. So, and that's not to puff us up or nothing, but we should be very happy about that, man, and thankful and appreciative because the Lord didn't wake up every Israelite, So we should be very thankful and happy that we are in our right state of mind now. We're not bugged out like these jakes out here. You know, it says delight thyself also in the Lord, and He shall give the desires of thy heart. So whatever we want, whatever we desire, the Lord's going to give it to us, man, and righteousness. You know, So, um, yeah, so Psalm 33:3 says, "For I was envious at the foolish." So various prophets. So we're not wicked when we get those thoughts, those envious thoughts, and because our forefathers had those thoughts, but we do, but we, but we apply the scriptures and you know, we we're not envious to the point and when we gonna act out on them thoughts. Nah, we still because we apply the scriptures, man. We know the Lord gonna judge these people, so these wicked evildoers of the society. So though those envious thoughts can come in sometimes, we combat those thoughts with the scriptures, man, and move on because we know the end of the latter end of the wicked. It says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." They're very prosperous, man. Begin on with these Edomites. To these celebrities, to these heathens, they're very prosperous, but they're wicked. It says, "For there are no bands in their depths." But this is chiefly talking about Esau, Edom. The elites thereof. The ones you never see. The shadow government. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers. The ones you never see, man. This is really talking about them. But you also can apply it to like these celebrities and these heathens. But this first and foremost applies to them elites. This scripture, this fully talking about the elites. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. So when you go into another translation, it says in NIV version, they have no struggles. Yeah, they don't have no struggles, man. Their bodies are healthy and strong because they eat the best foods. You know, they don't eat the least of Esau. They don't eat McDonald's and Jack in the Box and Carl Jr. They don't eat that. They eat the same them animals that are farms from the cows and they may have deers, stuff like that, ox. Them same animals that was living that same day, they're butchered. Them same animals is butchered and they eat them that same day because that's how they live. The least of Esau. So they're very prosperous, man. Why? Because it is right now is their time to rule. You know. So I'm reading against it. They have no struggles. Their bodies are healthy and strong. And NLT version, they seem to live such painless lives. Their bodies are so healthy and strong. You know. So they are not in trouble as other men. Neither are they played like other men. So they don't have to worry about the issues we worry about. Having to stretch out $50 for a week, $100 for a week. You know, they don't have the worries we got. Everything is they, as the scripture said, they have more than that. I was gonna say in verse 7, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart can wish. So they have way more than their heart can wish, man. They're able to, because the scriptures say that money is a defense. So they're able to deliver themselves out of not anything from all the income they got, all the riches they got, and they can pay people off. And that's why they're very prideful. As I say in verse 6, therefore pride can pass them out about as a chain, violence covered them as a garment. So they're very prideful and they're violent. Talking about the least of Esau, you know. But we know they're gonna be put down very soon, man, and they're gonna go into slavery, you know. But applying to all the evildoers in this society that we see, These heathen nations and these celebrities amongst Jake, they all gonna lose everything, man. And they will be judged for their actions. So yeah, I just wanted to make a lesson on that. Envy not the glory of a sinner. And Lord willing, I was edified. And until next time, oh yeah, Shabbat Shalom, Akim, Mr. Shabbat. If I hadn't said in the beginning of the lesson. So Shabbat Shalom, Akim to you and your families. And stay safe out here. It is a new moon. I mean, it's like a full moon. So a lot of spirits be out on the full moon. So I come out there, just be safe. And Lord willing, y'all better was edified. And until next time, Shalom.